going to take a look at discussion boards, how to set them up properly in Ultra. So first things first, whenever you're in an Ultra class, across the top you have, on the right-hand side, you have these different tabs that send you to certain places. So you have the content, the calendar. This one right here is the discussion board. And if you click in here, it'll list all the discussion boards that are posted in your class or in your content areas. Now, let's go ahead and walk through the process of setting up a discussion board. So the key thing that we need to stress when we're setting up discussion boards in Ultra is that we need to post them in these content areas rather than having a note that says, hey, students, click on the discussion board tab in the top right and go that way. We want to put them in the content area, right where the students are seeing it. So we need to make sure that we do that. And I'm going to give you an example. So if I go in, say I have an area called discussions, whether you want to put them within the unit themselves each week or in a separate thing called discussions, that's up to you. The key is to be consistent. I personally think putting it within the unit is better than having it somewhere separate because it's right there when the student goes in, but it's really up to you. But I'm going to put it in this discussions as just an example. So I open up my learning module, and in here I hit the purple plus. I want to click on create. And if you've noticed, we've been using this create panel for a lot of our content. We're going to for a discussion board, we need to go down to participation and engagement, and then you'll see discussion is right there. So how I got there was wherever I want to put it inside of my learning module, I hit the plus, I hit create, I select participation and engagement, the very bottom option, and then I select discussion. All right, first things first, you have to give it a name. So I'm going to name this Unit 4. Right here in the text box in the center, this is where you put the discussion prompt. You'll notice you have the full power of the text box here, so you can put in a titles, bold italics, numbered lists. Also, right here where this plus is, you'll notice that you can insert a video, you can insert a picture, you can insert local files. So if you want to give them an example of a good discussion post or something like that. One professor you could do something like, one professor brought this up when I did this training. If you could insert a video and have the discussion be about that video, like a quick, short 5-minute video, and then, give us your thoughts. Do you agree or disagree with what was said in the video? So you can do a lot of things with the discussion board. It's not just typing out something. You can do some more complicated things, but to get to that, you need to click this little plus if you want to do a video or insert a local file like a PDF or a Word document or something. But I am, for just the sake of simplicity right now, I am just going to ask which bear is best. All right, so that's the discussion. Notice you're going to need to click save down here, otherwise it won't go in. So that's the discussion topic, which bear is best. And then over here, we need to set our settings. Now, if you're going to do graded discussions, you need to turn that on before students start posting. Cannot stress that enough. It will not retroactively go back and collate the students' posts if you turn discussion on later. So we will want to make sure we turn it on now. So how do we do that? Well, it's as simple as clicking the cogwheel right next to discussion settings right here on the right. First things first, the check will say display on course content page. We definitely always want that checked. That means it's going to go in the content area. This first option is post first. If you select this, students cannot see anyone else's work until they post their initial post. So this could be a good positive. It ensures that the student's work is his own work and not others, but the negative downside is he won't get to see what everyone else is doing. Maybe that would spur on an idea for the student. So that's truly up to you and your pedagogy if you want to allow a post first or not, but I just want to point this out. So if you check this box, as soon as the student goes in, all they will see is this discussion topic, which bears best, and then they can start typing in their response. Once they type in the response and submit it, it unlocks the form and they can see everyone else's work. All right, here's the one we want right here, grade discussion. First thing, notice Blackboard always puts a date on it. From the date you are working, it gives you one extra day. So today's the 26th, it says the 27th. Make sure you set the appropriate participation, due date. If you aren't going to do a due date, simply delete it. But I highly recommend doing a due date. All right. It's going to ask you point values. It always defaults to 100, but you can change it to 20, 15, whatever the case may be. We haven't gotten to rubrics yet, but we will this semester. But I'm just going to give you a little taste if you're interested. If you want to add a rubric, you simply click here. If you've already had a pre-created rubric, you can select it. Otherwise, you can create a brand new rubric and attach it to the discussion board. I'm not going to do that right now. We're going to talk about rubrics later in the semester. Align with goals. That is something we don't use as an institution. That is essentially if the institution were to create SLOs, student learning outcomes, you could align them with them, but we as an institution haven't implemented that yet. I don't know if we ever will, but so you'll never need to deal with that until I tell you you need to deal with it if from the top down we decide to align everything with SLOs. Group discussions, we're going to talk about groups later in the semester, but you could make it a group discussion. Okay, so going over these again. So it's displaying in the content. The student has to post something first, and then it's graded. I put in my due date. I put in my point value, and I'm ready with my settings. So I'm going to hit save. All right. Now, if I exit out of here, you always need to check. Notice it says it's hidden from students. We need to make sure that's visible to students if we want students to see it. Otherwise, they'll never see it. The good thing about Ultra is it makes it very clear if something is or is not visible. Big slash through it and a little eyeball. Okay, so we just set up a discussion. So what does it look like from the student's perspective? So I'm going to go in and click. I'm going to go into student preview mode. So this creates a student account, and I'm going to go take a look at this. So I'm going to click on discussions. Here's my unit 4. I click on it. It sends me right to the discussion, and then I can say their course. Now, once I did that, if there were other replies, I would be able to see them. You'll notice over here it gives some important details for the student. The maximum grade's 100 points. Participate by the date, and if it had a rubric, it would be listed right here as well. All right. Now, let me show you a couple of cool things Ultra does with discussion boards that really help you when you're grading. I'm going to go into I'm teaching Christian Doctrine online this semester in Ultra. So let me show you. Log into my personal account. Christian Doctrine. So if you click on the Grade Center in the top right, you can scroll down to where your discussions are. So you can look at the students in question. And it gives you, first it'll give you all the students' posts, and then it will give you the context around them. So this student is commenting on this post, so you could, if you need it for context, you can read the student's initial post. But you'll notice this student is all here. And then over here on the right-hand side, it gives you some analysis, which is pretty cool. It'll give you sentence complexity, discussion analysis, Lexical variations. Are they using, to, be, are, is versus are they using bigger content words? What's their critical thinking? What's their word variation? Their participation versus the class average. So it can give you some cool stats to help you, so that way you can identify if a student's not doing too well or maybe needs help with the writing, and you can send them on to the Writing Center. So if you're curious of how it's getting this data, let me know. I can send you the information, but they crunch a bunch of numbers in the background and spit it out to you that way. So that is the analysis of the discussion board. Now, one other thing, and then I'll open it up for questions. So I stressed we want to, inside the content area, we want to put in the link in here instead of sending the students over to here. Let me tell you why. Let me go back in student preview mode to give you an example of why we want to put it in the area rather than telling them, hey, just click on the discussion board in the top right and then click, and then you'll be good. So if I click in my discussion and I click into Unit 4, it sends me right to the exact topic in question. Now, if I go into the discussion board this way, it shows me all of the discussions, right? Now notice, I'm a student right now. This little person right up here means I have student access. I do not have instructor access. But notice what I can do. I can hit the plus, and I can create a brand new discussion forum as a student. And we cannot turn this off right now, and it's incredibly frustrating. So it'd be really easy for a student to go, oh, Unit 4, oh, I have my answer, and they hit plus, and they think they're adding to the actual discussion when they're creating a brand new discussion forum. So the student actually needs to click into Unit 4 and then type the response. So this is why it's pertinent that we put the links in the appropriate place in the content area instead of sending them to the discussion tab in the top right, because otherwise students could accidentally think they're doing what they ought to do, which is add discussions, when they really aren't. So I've had one student this semester accidentally do that on the very first week when we did, it wasn't a graded discussion, it was just an introduce yourself type of thing. And a student accidentally did it, instantly realized it, and emailed me and said, I'm sorry, I accidentally made a new forum instead of posting in the other one. Can you delete it? I said, yeah, sure, it's no problem. So luckily, this semester, and my class that I'm teaching has a lot of discussion boards in it. I haven't had any mistakes doing things like that, except for that first week. But I also have all of my links posted within the proper units. So it's really important in Ultra to make sure that you are posting them in the units, whether they're within Unit 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or if you have a separate section called discussions. We want to be driving students that way because that sends them to the right place and they won't accidentally post something they don't need to post. All right, that's all I got.